Hi, how are we all doing today? My name is David Gugino, and today's book review, I have another good book, but this book is about it's about motivation. A practical guide to unstick yourself, build momentum, and sustain long-term motivation. So now, this is a very good book, and I really like this book, but it's by a guy named Thibaut Maurice. He was the guy that wrote Master Your Emotions, another re-review that I did. But he's got a whole series of stuff that I actually really enjoy. He talks mainly about the emotional side of things, which we are all run by emotions, I believe, and we just can't let our emotions control the outcomes of certain situations that we're in. But I really like this book, and the book is Master Your Motivation. Because when it comes to motivation, I believe that we can all reach our full potential, we just don't have the motivation to do it. And you're probably wondering, well gee David, how do we get the motivation to do it? Well, not only are there books like this that help you, but a lot of it comes down to is your why, the big why around it, and the reasoning that you want to do it. Well, I guess that is the why. The why, and also, well, what's it going to do for you when you do it? What's going to be the ROI, the return on investment, when you do it? So there's a lot of questions you got to ask yourself, and that's probably why you don't have the motivation to it. And those answers to those questions, well, give you the answer as to why you don't have the motivation for it. But we're going to dive into the book here. First part that I have is about being a people pleaser. So listen to what he says about being a people pleaser. Listen to this. Understandable. This type of behavior will rarely allow you to perform at your best or design the life you want. You may lie to yourself pretending you're acting selflessly, but it's often not the case. In fact, if anything, being a people pleaser is a selfish action, not a selfless one. When you seek to please people, you act out of fear of not being loved. Consequently, the focus is on yourself and what people may think of you, not on the other person. This is why Mr. Nice Guy often finishes last. Instead of being himself, he wears a mask hoping to make a good impression. He hides his true personality for fear of being rejected. In the end, he often is rejected. Ironically, not for who he really is, but for who he pretends to be. Even worse in the long term, this type of behavior tends to create resentment toward people who abuse your kindness. Under this condition, instead of having real relationships with people, you will develop fake relationships based on resentment and fear of showing your true self. This lack of assertiveness and the tendency to please other people often result from insufficient self-worth. For instance, a lack of self-worth can prevent you from standing for your values and what you believe in, accepting that some people will not like you, valuing your time and yourself, setting expectations and clear boundaries, and deciding on a clear direction you want to follow. Whenever you say yes to something, you'll probably have to say no to something else. For instance, when you help someone do something of little importance, you lose the opportunity to work on something world. In short, saying yes too often can rob you of the opportunity to do something more meaningful and impactful with your time. In this regard, it is easy to see why saying yes is selfish. Contrary to what people think, saying yes is not the default answer. So I know that was a lot to read there, but I really like what he says about it's a selfish move to be a people pleaser. Because that's all you care about. All you care about is people liking you, but it is selfish, but that selfishness is going to have a trade-off you're not going to like. You won't be able to stand for your values and what you believe in. You won't be able to accept that people won't like you. You won't value your time, yourself, setting expectations, clear boundaries, and deciding on a clear direction you want to follow. So that is something that is very true. It creates resentment toward people who abuse your kindness. And abuse your kindness can be many things. People just making fun of you the entire time, not acknowledging who you are. People who will invite you to places, but they want you to buy this, and that. And keep in mind, they are inviting you, but they want you to buy things all the time. Or people who just simply hang out with you because there's no one else to hang out with. And how you know that is they're like, hey, I've never wanted to hang out with this person. Then before you know it, they're wanting to hang out with you. But that's just something to think about when you're in those situations. And the focus is on yourself and what people may think of you. And that's why Mr. Nice Guy often finishes last. Now, that is believed to at an extent. So I do believe you have to be nice and kind to everybody. But being super nice can't be your only quality that you have. And what I mean by that, as in, there's not really anything that irritates you. You're not aggressive at all from time to time. You are never sad or ever bored. You're just nice all the time. Now, that's kind of what it is, but also it does not hurt to be angry. If you're at work and you're in a bad mood, I do believe you have to suck it up. But if you let a little rage out here and there, honestly, that's it. Now, that doesn't mean call people names, but simply just saying, man, sometimes this job sucks. Well, honestly, sometimes it does. And sometimes letting that out not only makes you feel a little better, but it makes other people be like, yep, we're living it in. So just think about that. The second part of this book that I have here for us today is, there's going to be a little bit of a two-part book because the pages in between are like, I'm going to read this, then 3 or 4 pages. I'm going to read the next thing that we have. And it's kind of similar, it goes all together, but this is revise your forecast is what he calls it. So listen to what he has to say here. Just listen to this. Have you ever considered that you may simply be miscalculating the amount of time you need to complete your tasks? In general, humans do a terrible job at forecasting. We overestimate what we can accomplish in a year and largely underestimate what we can accomplish in a decade. When we set goals, we tend to have unrealistic expectations, failing to consider worst-case scenarios and unexpected events. While being optimistic is important, when it comes to planning, a healthy dose of realism is often necessary. I like to use this simply to double the time I think I will need to complete a task. As a result, it rarely takes more time than I expect to complete a task, which makes me feel more productive and in greater control of my day. Consequently, if you tend to feel overwhelmed or never have enough time to finish your work, I encourage you to double the time and give yourself time you give yourself to finish your work. I encourage you to double the time you give yourself to finish your tasks. Now try this method and see what happens during the day and how you feel at the end of it. What you may realize is that inaccurate forecasting can create unnecessary stress and impact negatively on your self-esteem. You'll probably discover that merely by giving yourself more time, you'll accomplish the same amount of work, if not more, and will feel much better about yourself. So what I love about that is forecasting, is revise your forecast, is something that I struggle with is when I do a task, I'm like, there's no way it takes this long, but then I move faster and it's just like a little faster, like maybe by 3 or 4 minutes. So for example, eating breakfast. The breakfast I eat takes 6 minutes to eat. I try to eat it faster, but no matter what I do, it's 6 minutes. But then I'm also thinking, wow, it takes me 6 minutes to eat that, and then I'm also thinking, yeah, but David, that's only 6 minutes of time that you're taking to eat. And something that also people don't realize with revise your forecast is, he didn't say this, but when you're doing a task, you have to look on your phone a lot, or like before you know it, you're doom scrolling, and then 20 minutes later you get back to task, you do a few things on that task, then you doom scroll again, then before you know it, you're like, why did it take me 3 hours to do this? And you're just, then people don't realize it. I'm just like, or you're like, why did it take me 3 hours to do this? And then you're going to be thinking, oh, I was on my phone for like 20 minutes in between. Yep, that is what happens. But when it comes to like your phone and like other distractions are going to be everywhere. My TV is right there and I'm doing this right now. I could be like, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones a little bit while I set up to make a video, which I also realize setting up a video like this doesn't take long. But then before you know it, I'm going to be watching a whole bunch of Game of Thrones, and then hours later I'm going to start doing this. And the other thing, you get more done if you didn't get distracted. More done as in, you can maybe work just a little bit harder. And that's a good mindset to have when it comes to doing stuff like this, or even your day job. Just like, what if we worked a little bit harder today? And nobody may care, but you just get to take pride in being like, you know what, I got the motivation to work a little bit harder today. But with tasks, I like what he says here about unnecessary stress. Like for example, eating breakfast. You can't be stressing out about eating. Preparing for work. If you're at work on time and have safety net, I call them safety nets, where like if you got stopped by a train or you're driving by an accident, if you have all of those and you're still getting to work on time with your routine, don't stress about being faster. So here's the other thing about routine I want to mention. Try to make routine not change. I wonder, what do I mean by that? When it comes to routine changing, that means like, don't add any unnecessary things that you don't need to do. So this week for my job, I tried reading 10 pages in the morning. It added 25, almost 30 minutes to my routine. And I'm like, there's no way it takes me 30 minutes to read these pages, to read 10 pages. Now there's a lot on that page. Don't get me wrong, but then I realized it wasn't 30 minutes, it's because I was starting 20 minutes before I had to have all my lunch prepared, all my dishes done, my clothes laid out. It was before all of that. Then before you know it, work starts at 6. It was 4:50 and I'm already in the bathroom washing my face. I have to leave at 5:30. Then it's like 5:10, 5:15, then before you know it I have breakfast in front of me. Still not clothed for the day at like 5:15 in the morning. And I'm like, wow, why does this keep happening? But it's because I was adding in reading in the morning. So keep routine the same, don't add in unnecessary stress to your day, mainly distractions, but really revise your forecast. Have like second thoughts on what it takes, on how long it takes you to do a task. And your distractions, just set them to the side. Just really build a habit of setting them to the side. So revise your forecast. So think about that. Alright, now the third and final part I have to this book is something that does resemble to what I just read, but really listen to what he has. Really important. Now this is called Leverage the 80-20 Principle. Now, the 80-20 Principle, what is that? Well, 20% of the things you do bring you 80% of your results. So think about that. 20% of the things you do bring you 80% of your results. That is the 80-20 Principle. Now, he says here, leverage the 80-20 Principle. So listen to what he has to say here. Listen to this. The last thing you want is to be busy simply for the sake of it. Most people spend far too much time working on unimportant things, and while some people pride themselves on how busy they are, being too occupied shouldn't be worn as a badge of honor. It is a state of mind that results from a lack of prioritization. If anything, being too busy results from laziness in your thinking. Being able to focus on what matters will make it far less likely for you to feel overwhelmed. It will ensure you work on the right thing and maintain a high level of motivation. According to the 80-20 Principle, 20% of the things you do bring you 80% of your results. This rule applies in countless situations. For instance, it is also true 20% of a company's customers will usually generate 80% of their profits, and 20% of the world's wealthiest people own around 80% of the world's wealth. This is a fascinating principle. Once you apply it consistently, it can dramatically improve your life. So what I really love about that is kind of like how we talked about unnecessary stress and let themselves on how busy they are. Being too occupied shouldn't be worn as a badge of honor. It is a state of mind that results from lack of prioritization. So for example, do you ever have a friend that just says I'm too busy, but they say I'm too busy? You're probably wondering, busy with what? Because when I tell people I'm busy, I give them specifics as to what I'm doing because I don't want to be that guy. But busy as in, if someone were to invite me out right now, I would finish what I'd be doing and then I would put my camera up and go. Now before this, I'd be like, alright, you know what? It's my fault. I should have filmed earlier, but I am not skipping time with friends to film one of these. And even with working out, I will train either later or I should have trained earlier. But I don't really have issues with that. But really think about that. And also, when he says it shouldn't be worn as a badge of honor if you're too busy. If you are too busy to take time to spend time with your family, hang out with friends, and literally relax your mind, or even go to bed on time, I'm too busy. I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure you do not work 14, 16 hours a day. And if you were working those hours, you'd be working and you'd be sleeping. That is too busy. Because that is like 2 more hours of your day that you've had because you spend it at work. Now, but that's a far-fetched example. But if you're like too busy to do anything with your life, anything fun, hanging out with friends, talking to people, if you're too busy to do any of that, just really think about that. Think about that lifestyle. Think about that life. You are too busy to do something else with your life. And I like the last thing you want to be is busy. The last thing you want is to be busy simply for the sake of it. Most people spend far too much time working on unimportant things. So also think about that. You don't want to just be busy to be busy. Honestly, I understand you want to keep busy, but like you said here, working on unimportant things. So working on as in, well, let's say you're cleaning your house, but your house looks fine. Alright, that's great. Let's say you find something else that's dirty in your house. Alright, I'm going to spend time on this. You can find something else. Oh, I'm going to spend time on this. Then we will use another example. Well, I'm building something in my home, but I want to add this to this and that to this. Alright, well, does it need to be built? Is there a deadline where it has to be built? No. Can you not work on it for at least 2 hours each day and then work on it like that the next day? I mean, no, not really. I mean, yeah, probably. So, kind of like that happy medium there. But when I says working on unimportant things, this particular thing you're building, for example, probably doesn't need to be built by the end of the week. You cleaning your house. You could obviously being detailed is great, but you could honestly just clean it the way you've been cleaning it and no one will notice and it'll look great. And working on unimportant things like working on like a video game console, something like that. I mean, painting. I mean, and these are all like hobbies, but people use the term working on a lot. Not working on. People use the excuse working on a lot. You were not working on it, you were just simply doing a hobby over getting out of the house and letting some free time go away and letting yourself have some free time. So I know that was a lot and that was specific, but I really like this book. It is very good at telling you your motivation. I just really like the author telling you your motivation. It really shows you how to motivate yourself and shows you just simple things like what I read there. Revise your forecast, leverage the 80-20 rule, don't be a people pleaser, just stuff like that to get you motivated to do something else with your life or follow your dreams. And this author is really good. This is Mastering Your Motivation. I want to thank you all for watching. This is a very good book. I hope you read it. And the takeaway for this video is don't be a people pleaser. If you feel some way, let it out a little bit and just be a little selfish with your time. Be a little selfish with your time. Just a bit. But I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you master your motivation and you all have a great day.